Hi there, I'm Steve Smart. I'm a technologist based out in Perth, Western Australia. And I've been working in technology for about 15 years. Before that, I ran my own business. I've been doing various things such as solution architecture, running project teams, and the like. But yeah, the question is why would I be creating this podcast? Well, um, if you look back at technology over the last 20 years or so, which has been the bulk of my career, um, we've been through several waves. We went through the dot-com boom around 2000, and then we went through the growth of Google, the growth of Facebook, and the others. And we've now reached this point where we're getting into AI, and it's probably the most exciting. But what I personally want to see is it not to unfold like it did previously. Um, People have made massive amounts of money and have created organisations and companies with massive amounts of power. But that's not always been perfectly aligned with the needs of people. And if you look at what's happened to social media and gaming in particular over the last 10 years or so, it's just totally taken over our lives to the point where you see people walking down the street not bumping into each other because they're so addicted to their phones. My kids are just stuck on YouTube all the time. And with this, with the AI era that we've really started to enter into since about November 2022, I think things could get a lot worse when they shouldn't, and that there's no need for them to. So what am I planning to do? I'm planning to start. Well, I'm just planning to do what I want to do, which is to get everything that's known about AI improvement, an open source, and offer the world a totally free alternative. So if you look at things like ChatGPT, great piece of software. I mean, it's probably in my lifetime the advent of transformer architecture is probably the single most amazing technology invention, right up there with the internet. Um, and all the stuff that Claude are doing and Gemini, it's all great stuff. But ultimately, these people are trying to just create vendor lock-in. Just this week, ChatGPT, OpenAI have released this agent toolkit to start building your own agents, and it looks great. But the point is that they're just creating stickiness. People like Sam Altman, smart cookies, but they're just designing the whole thing so that you just get tangled in their web. You become a number to them, and you don't really get the freedom that we need. So, open source on the other hand, it's always been technically quite impressive, but it's just never quite had the UX UI love given to it, and the thought given to it to create really useful programs that the mainstream can adopt. So, A is for agent. What is it? It's undefined. It's certainly defined in my mind what it is to start with, but who knows where it will go. I'll explain. So, if you look at the AI tools that have come out so far, the ones that have become useful have been the chat interface. So, ChatGPT Web, ChatGPT Desktop, Claude Desktop, Gemini, that's pretty much totally web at this stage. They're all good, but they're all locked into their own ecosystem. So the very first thing that I want A to do is to create a generic chat interface portal that is just as good to start with and better as soon as possible than those three, but allows you to interoperate between them perfectly and allows all of that data that you generate, that you give to the interfaces and you get back from it is captured primarily on your own device. So you always keep ownership of it, because then you slowly will accumulate more and more information as you develop your ideas with it, and it will always be available to the work that you're doing. It'll never be trapped in somebody else's cloud. So that's the first thing, and I've got several ideas on how to not ratchet that up. But the first principle is to create the best chat interface that's interoperable with all of them. It means that as these new models come through, that's fine. You can just pull them in, but you don't get sucked in and held captive. The second thing is much more recent, but probably the last 6 months or so, has been the advent of the AI enhanced browser. So you first saw this with Perplexity Comet, which, if you go into their closed ecosystem, you can play with these toys and you get charged monthly. You then have started to see Chrome and to a lesser extent Microsoft Edge start to bring in some of these techniques or technologies. But the idea is that rather than driving a browser individually as a person, just as we all have for the last 20 years or so, or 30 years now, then you can get the AI agent to drive it. So the second thing I'm going to build and offer to everybody for free is a really good AI enhanced browser that doesn't have all that lock-in, and that you can run on your own computer. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is workflows. So there's been some great improvement with AI enhanced workflow automation. So companies like N8N have released some good workflow automation that's as good as Zapier and some of the commercial products. But what OpenAI and Claude now are trying to do with their technology is create these AI infused workflows so that you can automate some of the regular work you do. So the very first things I'm going to do are those three. And the great news is that this open source that will accelerate the development of this. So over the coming weeks, you'll see on the GitHub repo and on the aceforagent.net site that I'm building as well, that you'll start to see some of this come alive. And what will it do? In the very first instance, I'll talk about where I'm going with this. I want to create just an intellectual playground where I can, just build stuff I want and develop ideas and automate them. But the first real step is to get automations using AI to handle a lot of the busy work in my life that I just don't want to do anymore. So that's the first step. But where am I going? I'll give Sam Altman his credit where credit's due. I don't know if it's his idea, but it's certainly one that he's shared. Where this is all going is creating fully agentic, autonomous organizations. And that's really what I want to build. I want to build some software in AI that can run a whole business. So beyond just those first three things that I've talked about, you'll see some ideas I had from solution architecture on how I can build out a whole organization of autonomous agents that do all the work necessary to provide value to people. Because that's where I see the AI revolution going. It's not a world where people are building their own software and offering everybody else software as a service startups. No. It's about getting back into the physical world. It's about making a better world for real people. And I want to make it so that anybody can build and operate their own business for the value of everybody else with minimum cost. If we can all do that, we all as individuals will become stronger, more self-reliant, and be able to flourish without being stuck in kind of corporate matrices waiting for the next promotion from somebody above you. No, it's about giving people the ability to create their own destiny. So I hope you join me on this journey. I'm not going to, this is not going to be pretty, especially early on. I'm very much going to build fast and break things. There'll be lots of problems along the way, but I will be releasing fairly quickly, and you'll see that the software, that the rate that the software develops will be quite quick. Down the track, I'll release more and more of not just the software that I'm building for everybody to use. As we hopefully get more people involved in this effort, I'll start providing some of those coding agents and accelerators. I heavily use. I'm a software developer since I was 7, so I've been doing this for a long time. But to accelerate things, I typically use Cursor and Claude Code. So I'll be using those. But ultimately, I'll be augmenting those tools as well, so that we can use some of those open source models like Quencoder and the like. GPT OSS 120p is pretty good these days. So we'll be using more and more of that tool set as well, and I'll release those tools that aren't directly part of the A platform, but help build the A platform. So all of this is going to be open source. I will have a few commercial offerings, but basically just to pay for my time. In the commercial world, I can charge pretty good day rates and some good money building stuff for other people. But really, that's not where my heart lies anymore. My heart lies in freeing humanity from the next next corporate cloud. The corporate the offerings that we do have on there ultimately are really just to fund the cause. So I appreciate your support of those, but not essential. What's essential is for you to share the word, get people to use this, and try and free us from that lock-in that I've been talking about. Okay, so let's get to work. Where do we start? I'll just show you some of the stuff that I've started working on. So I'll just bring up my cursor screen. Where's the best place to start? I'll just pause for a second while I'm finding it. Okay, so what I'll show you first is the A is for agent GitHub repo. So yes, so this is at github.com / A is for agent. In there at the moment, there's actually 4 repositories. The one I'm going to be doing most work on initially is this A is for agent public repo. The other things in this repo at the moment are quite early stage, but you're more than welcome to have a look. So the first one is ALLM proxy, which is a light LLM fork, which is the underlying code we'll be using to allow that interoperability between the different model systems. So I'll be leveraging ALLM proxy for that. A is for agent CLI is a fork of the Gemini CLI, but rather than just using Gemini, I'm making it so again it'll leverage the ALLM proxy and allow you to use that CLI for any open source model. So that will allow effectively agentic coding. So I'll be connecting it to Qwen3 Coder. And this one here is, it actually does work a little bit. You can play with it if you wish, but it's my superpower pack. What I've done is I've taken the Microsoft Graph API and also some Python libraries, and I've put them into an MCP server. And this is an MCP server that allows you to access and control all the Microsoft suite. So it allows you to check emails, create Teams meetings, join Teams meetings, get the transcript from Teams meetings, add things to your calendar, all that kind of stuff. So that is quite an interesting piece of kit. It does need a bit of optimization because it's got about 60 odd tools, and ultimately will be a key part of the AIs for Agent ecosystem. But I really did that as a bit of a proof of concept to myself, and it worked a lot better than I initially thought. So so that's what that's all about. So A is for Agent. The code there. So this is the core code, and you'll see that it's a fork of Langflow. So Langflow is a visual builder for the Lang chain ecosystem, and I think over time they're also going to bring that into LangGraph. So LangGraph into that ecosystem as well. So I'm using that as a base because it's fully open source. It's very powerful, but it really is designed at the moment for developer level technical users. So I'm going to put that I'm going to use Langflow as a base because it gives me a lot of the power that I was going to build from scratch. But I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. Where appropriate, I'll give back to that community and enhance Langflow with any enhancements that we come up with. But I want to use Langflow as a base on which to build. So that's why I initially forked AIs for Agent from that. But as you'll see, it's already got quite a few more features. So one of the decisions I had to make was that it was just a design decision. Is even though I want this tool to be used by everybody, to start with, should I build it in Docker containers, or should I try and boil it down into something like an Electron app, so it's more of a standard installer? Difficult decision, because if I can create that standalone installer, then it could potentially have a much larger early footprint with just standard users, but it means that I'd have to make quite a few trade-offs in terms of the power that was possible early on. So I've decided that for the time being, I'm going to be developing using Docker containers, which does mean that there'll be far fewer people using A initially, because then they'll need to know how to turn on virtualization in their computers, which that would probably wipe out everybody in my family other than myself. You'll need to install Docker Desktop, and then you'll be able to know how to stand up containers using make files. So that is a big preventative thing from lots of people using this, but it's not that hard. But I've decided to do that because I want to get the capability up and running quickly. And once I've distilled down the core capability, then I'll probably make a desktop version. But that'll be a few months away. But that will unleash this thing on the world once we do that. So what I'll do now is I'll just show you. So I've shown you the GitHub repo. I will also show you the. How do you turn this thing off? I will also show you the website. So aisforagent.net. I've just put together an outline of what we're doing. Feel free to read through this, but the point is that I'm doing all this so that people can start controlling the AI software and owning the AI software that they leverage. So that's the website, and what I'll do now is I'll just show you a bit about the software. So the repo, the main part of the repo is A-flows, is where I'm doing a lot of the development at the moment, especially in the front end and back end directories. So A-flows is the port of Langflow, not the port, the fork of it. So that's where that's being developed. That A model proxy is that LLM proxy area, and then A tasks is a fork of temporal. So the idea is that you develop workflows using Langflow, and then once they achieve a certain degree of maturity and they're repeatable, then you can start migrating them over to temporal, which is a very robust execution platform. So I've also taken a fork of that, and that will be developed out in due course. At the moment, I haven't made any changes to A tasks yet. Then there's all the standard doc files and scripts and things, volumes. This is all just platform configuration. There's the secrets file, which will be a default one which you can use, but then you can configure with your own secrets. The way it works is when you build your system, all the secrets in that secrets file are stored in a HashiCorp Vault container, so they're secure, so that when you're sharing things like API passwords and username and ID passwords and other credentials for the different software that you're using, there's a secure place to store them all. So let's show you the work in progress situation where we're at. So I'll just keep maximizing that in the wrong way. I want to use this one. So yeah, if we go to localhost, I think 3000 do it? No, yeah, here we go. So what I've done is I've this is how it's going to develop out. We've got that chat unit interface I've talked about before, so that's what I've started working with here, and be able to select your model. We're going to have that browser area where we're going to have a Perplexity Comet style agentic browser, and I'll make it so that you can easily seamlessly move between the chat interface and the browser. In fact, you'll be able to just say in here, turn this into a browser, and it'll change from chat to browser. The messages section is going to be where it's going to be a unified event hub for yourself. Now, what does that mean? It means that all of the social media likes and mentions and all that kind of thing will come into this single unified message hub, along with any emails that you receive, along with any text messages you receive, or Slack messages or WhatsApp messages. Why does that all need to be in one place? Because once you put it in one place, you've got that stream of things that relate to yourself coming in. You can then start attaching workflows to it. So you can say, hey, file that away, send me a message, actually alert me on my phone through what will ultimately be the A app, tell me that something's happened, or post-process it, file it away, vectorize it and make it available to my future chat conversations, all that kind of stuff. So having that unified messages area will allow us to do that. Agents is where you can create your Langflow style automations, and then Work Manager is ultimately the console which will allow you to see how everything fits together. Now, what I'm trying to do here is create the everything app. So a lot of the time you'll just be talking to your chat interface, asking questions, do whatever, and that'll be the end of it. You'll just have a sequence of chats that you'll be able to refer to. But then if you want, you can start saying, hey, that's useful, let's write some code based upon that. So you can start, can you create a workflow or an agent based upon that conversation? So the idea is that you can kind of migrate it up. Now, when things become very mature, you've got lots of automations, you can start grouping them into personal groups of tasks, so looking after my own stuff, but also grouping them into organizations. As I said before, you can have multiple businesses under that Work Manager area, and it'll just all handle it. Now, when that becomes very, very large, you probably have to offload some of the workload from your home computer onto something in the cloud, which again you will own and control, because that's the whole purpose. But at some point you want to be able to, you'll have more work than can be handled by a little laptop, so there'll need to be a way to do that. The work manager is where you're going to group all those activities into sets of things that get done for yourself, or as I said before, whole organizations. So I'm very, very excited about where that will go, but it's a way off now. So for the time being, the work manager will very much be a placeholder. So the situation right now is I actually did get this a proof of concept working where I could change between the different models. I've updated as of right now. I've updated the settings, so you'll notice that these menu names will change a bit. But I've made it so that you can add the different secrets. So I've entered my key for OpenAI. I've entered it for Anthropic. I've entered it for Google. I've entered it for XAI Grok. So I've got that working. I'm just currently making it so that all that gets stored in Vault, because at the moment it's stored by default by Langflow in I think in memory. Well, it needs a better home than that. So at the moment, if I rebuild the containers, I lose all those. That's no good. So I'm currently just going to be porting that over to Vault. So it's securing it there. Once I've got the secrets in Vault, I will be making them available also to that LLM proxy. So we showed you that before. So the LLM proxy, is it's a port of Light LLM. The point is I want that LLM proxy to be able to grab all your credentials that you've set in A, so that then it will become available in the front end. So the front end, showed you before, localhost, is it 3001? 3,000, I think it's 3,000. Got a few of these things running around the place. So I'll be linking that Light LLM up to here. So anything that is, I mean, at the moment there's only 2 showing up. That's not what will be shortly at all. But as soon as you enter your API key, then any that are available from OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini will be able to be selectable up there. And once you do it, it just means that you'll be able to change the conversation. So you see here, I was talking to GPT 4.0, then I went to 4.0 mini, then I went to 4.1, and it's handling the transitions. Once I've got that working, I'm going to spend a bit of time polishing up the UI. So I don't mind the UI that I've got at this stage. I mean, it looks reasonable. It's a nice dark theme, but I really want it to be as good or better than the ChatGPT one. So if you look at ChatGPT as a comparison, I'm not copying any of the code. I'm just, the legal guys over at OpenAI, I encourage them to go and have a look at the look and feel cases from the 1980s when Windows and Park were arguing over styling. I'm certainly going to be copying look and feel to some extent, but no code. But see how this is a lot more compact than there's a lot more on a screen. The font sizes look a bit smaller. I'm going to be optimizing all that so that in every way I want A is for Agent to be as good or superior to the UI of ChatGPT and Claude. So I'll be using that as a bit of inspiration. Once we've got the chat working, what I'm calling basic chat, then I'll probably move over to the browser and have a crack at that. So that's the immediate roadmap. So I'll look forward to showing you as it evolves. The next a podcast, so that'll be episode 2. I'll cover off on the progress towards the goals of getting the chat up and running, and hopefully I might have even made a start on the browser. But ultimately, what we're going to end up with, when I say ultimately, the first step is to give everybody a really good unified chat interface that's vendor agnostic. You can use any of those models. Then I want to be able to get it so it can use MCP servers, so that you can get lots of those tool sets and different things working, including that Word, Microsoft MCP server that I've built. And then we'll move on to the AI browser. So that's going to keep me busy for a few weeks, but looking forward to sharing with everybody and letting you have a go. Okay, so with that, we'll call it quits for episode 1. Cheers, thank you, bye-bye.